Hello everyone, welcome back. We're here with another trade update video. In this video, we're talking about 3 trades that happened yesterday on trade deadline day. 3 very interesting ones, but more smaller ones. We'll touch on the Brett Harrisson trade, we'll touch on the Nick Foligno trade, and we'll touch on the Hinostroza trade coming up right now. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another end-to-end hockey trade update video. Once again, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. We're trying to hit 650 in the next week or two, so if you can, leave a subscribe. It really does help the channel. Only like 14 subscribers away from 650. If you can, leave a subscribe. It really does help with the channel. And also, if you haven't already, check out yesterday's live stream. I did a live stream talking about all the moves that happened on trade deadline day, so if it's within your means and you want to see it, go check it out. It's under the live tab on my YouTube channel. But in today's video, we've got another trade update video. So we've got 3 trade updates here to talk about. One involving the Philadelphia Flyers and Boston Bruins, another involving the Wild and Blackhawks, and another involving the Wild and Panthers. So 3 very intriguing deals here. So we'll start with the one between the Boston Bruins and the Philadelphia Flyers. This was an AHL player swap, as the Boston Bruins acquired Rizzo and Gendron from the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for Harrisson and Edwards. So everyone in this deal is 22 years old except for Rizzo, who's 24 years old. Rizzo was acquired a couple of years back from the Carolina Hurricanes as an unsigned prospect over in college. He had a couple of really stellar seasons over in college. Last year in his first pro season, didn't have great numbers at the AHL level, and this year he's been playing the entirety at the ECHL level. So there's a possibility Rizzo could eventually maybe be like a bomb 6 forward or a call-up option, but at this point in time, it's not looking very good for him, so we shall see how he does in the Bruins organization. Gendron's in the final year of his ELC. He was a 7th round pick back in the 2022 draft, and he's actually having a pretty decent season, having 10 goals and 22 points in 47 games. So Gendron, who's a right winger, I think eventually could be like a solid 4th or 3rd line winger there for the Boston Bruins. Meanwhile, for the Philadelphia Flyers, they get Brett Harrisson. Harrisson was a former 3rd round pick back in the 2021 draft, also in the final year of his ELC, has 8 goals and 17 points in 46 games, not as productive as Gendron, but still, I think eventually Harrisson could challenge for like a bomb 6 role in the Flyers organization. And they also get defensive prospect Jackson Edward, who has 1 year left on his ELC after this year, having an $831,000 AAV. He was a 7th round pick back in the 2022 draft, and just like Rizzo, he's played the entire season at the ECHL level, having 7 assists in 21 games. So this is an interesting side. They swap an AHL forward and they swap an ECHL forward, so I'm not sure who wins this deal. All these guys are AHL level players. Not sure if any of them will wind up eventually becoming NHL level players, but the way they're playing right now, I think Gendron and Harrisson have the best chance to make the NHL level. So it's an interesting prospect swap. I consider it a win-win because I don't know too much about either of these prospects, but still very interesting out there that the Flyers acquired 2 AHL players from the Boston Bruins in exchange for 2 AHL players. And I'll let you guys thought if it was a win-win deal or if one of those teams did wind up winning the deal. Then we saw a trade between the Minnesota Wild and the Chicago Blackhawks. The Hawks wanting to do right by their captain, who's in the final year of his deal, making just over $4 million, wanted to trade him to a team where he could actually have a chance to go and contend for a Stanley Cup. So that's what happened. The Blackhawks dealt captain Nick Foligno to the Minnesota Wild for future consideration. So they don't get anything back in return. It's just a solid move for the Hawks to give their captain a chance to chase a Stanley Cup. Similar to what happened a couple of years ago with Kyle Pozo, where the Buffalo Sabres captain wound up getting dealt to Florida to chase a Stanley Cup, and he wound up winning it. So not a bad move here from the Blackhawks to deal him to Minnesota. Foligno in Minnesota, he's going to play with his brother Marcus, which will be very interesting to watch. He's 38 years old. He's a left winger, so he probably doesn't have too many years left playing in the NHL. He's making a $4.5 million AAV. So far this year, hasn't gone to a ton of NHL games. He's also been injured a couple of times, at 3 goals and 11 points in 37 games. So I think Foligno brings some really good veteran experience, knows what it takes to win. I think putting him on the 4th line, potentially even with his brother, would be really great. And I think he can provide some veteran experience and help this team out in a couple of different ways. So a really good move here from the Minnesota Wild to create some leadership, some veteran experience, and acquire a solid player who can play in the bottom 6. So very interesting out there. But the Minnesota Wild acquired Nick Foligno to give him a chance at a Stanley Cup from the Blackhawks in exchange for future considerations, a deal in which I do think obviously Minnesota wins getting a player for basically free, but I think the Hawks doing right by their captains very great as well, so very interesting note there. And then we saw another trade that involved future considerations, and that was between the Minnesota Wild and the Florida Panthers, trying to create a contract slot. After they wound up acquiring Nick Foligno, the Minnesota Wild that Hinostroza to the Florida Panthers for future consideration. So for the Wild, they just acquired Foligno and he had a contract slot open, so this makes a whole bunch of sense. They get a player who was at this time basically like a call-up option off their books. Not a bad move there from the Wild. They definitely lose this deal, but it's not too much of a surprising move. For the Panthers, this is an interesting bottom 6 edition. Hinostroza is a winger. He can play both sides, very versatile that way. He's 31 years old in the final year of his deal, only making $775,000. He should be able to help in like the fourth line, maybe be a spare forward depending on injuries and things like that. So this is a really good pickup here from the Panthers. Hinostroza so far this year had 3 goals and 10 points in 48 games, so he's actually been pretty dang good at the NHL levels. So I think this is going to be a really good pickup here for the Panthers. Hinostroza should be like a solid bottom 6 forward, and while I don't think he's going to help them that much, getting him for free and adding a player who can play bottom 6 minutes is not terrible for the Florida Panthers. So all in all, this is a deal. I do think the Florida Panthers win, but it's interesting out there that the Wild create a contract slot in order to get Nick Foligno, and in exchange, the Panthers get a pretty decent fourth line forward. So very interesting out there. But those are all the trades we want to talk about here today. Let your guys' thoughts on if you think the Wild or Hawks won, the Wild or Panthers won, Bruins or Flyers won, or if those were win-win deals. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of them down in the comment section below. Leave me your reaction to those 3 deals. Once again, I'm going to do more in the very near future, so if you can, stay tuned for more videos coming in the very near future. That's all I'm going to talk about in this video. Once again, if you haven't already, leave a subscribe down below. It really does help with the channel. We're trying to hit 650 subscribers. And also, if you haven't already, check out my live stream that I did yesterday about the trade deadline. I think you guys will really like it. But that's all I'm going to talk about in this video. Stay tuned for more videos coming out in the very near future. God bless y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one.